Gran Turismo 7 have just added the perfect free roam car to the game, and I think this has to be a precursor to some form of free roam in Gran Turismo. In this video, I'm going to let you know why that's the case. You might think this is just a bit of coincidence. We already have sort of meme cars in the game, like the Toyota Executive Lounge, but this is a little bit different. And as you know, I was at the GT World Series event a couple of days ago. I spoke to Kaz, I mentioned tracks. That's going to come in a different video, but I want to talk in this one about free roam because I've seen so many of your comments. Now, why do I think this is a car that sort of indicates some sort of free roam element? Because this is not in any way, shape or form a track car, a closed track car. The only time you'd see this on a track is if it was a recovery vehicle, and we'll get onto that later. And it's therefore a really weird experience sort of seeing this car on closed tracks in the game. I mean, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why does it have the sirens? There's some like emergency voice stuff as well going on with it. But imagine this. You can see here at Tokyo Expressway. Imagine if there's some kind of scenario added to the game where you get traffic on the Tokyo Expressway and you need to get from point A to point B without hitting any other traffic cars to get to the scene of an emergency. Maybe you need to get there, there's a cutscene, and you need to drive back. Something like that. Imagine how exciting that would be. And there's a much bigger point here because Gran Turismo is all about car culture, but I feel like Gran Turismo has actually achieved already most of what it can achieve with track cars, and now it's diving to the realm of other cars that are important, other sort of things like this. I feel like you would learn so much more actually about this car if it was used in its correct context. And by that I mean if you were doing that ambulance scenario I just said, you could get facts pop up on the screen or in the dialogue letting you know the history of the ambulance, what testing the ambulance drivers need to do in Japan, what Toyota did when they were developing this ambulance in terms of performance to actually take it somewhere like the Nürburgring, what's important for an ambulance when it comes to is it brakes, handling, whatever. That kind of stuff you would actually listen to and understand. I really thought about this when I was playing the Crew Motorfest, incidentally, where they actually tell you a lot of stuff about the cars during the custom events for those cars, that heavily custom. Whereas here, we're all going to get this car and we're just going to sort of mess around with it and drift with it and sort of slap like ridiculous stuff on it, go drifting with it, and that's all great and cool, but I don't think most of us, 99% of us, actually learn anything about this car. And that seems to go against Kaz's ethos for car culture and for us to actually respect the people that design and engineer these cars, but we can do it in a virtual space. Lots more scenarios you could do, by the way. You could be a test driver for an ambulance, and maybe you have to get it around the Nürburgring under a certain time for it to be accepted by the Japanese, medical ambulance society, whatever it is. Just narrative stuff like that, I feel like, would go so much further. They go so far already. They've modeled this car. It handles really nicely by the looks of things. You can do a lot of stuff with it, even go drifting with it. It's exquisitely detailed. They've got the sound effects, they've got the sirens, but there's no actual context to it. It's that final bit of specifically, giving us an incentive to drive it and to get an attachment with it that I think GT7, to be honest, is just dropping the ball on. And other games are going to do a better job. I remember playing Forza Motorsport 3, and Forza Motorsport 4 was the same as well with Jeremy Clarkson. It made you actually really kind of want to know more about the cars and feel like you were driving powerful and finally doing cars. And Gran Turismo, yes, was like that back in the day. 1, 2, 3, A-Spec, all that kind of stuff. But nowadays, I don't think it's enough. I genuinely don't think it's enough to just sort of slap this car in the game and think that that's going to be content that people will really care about when they're making a purchasing decision, aka deciding whether to buy the game or not. Don't know why I went all like corporate speak there. But free roam would unlock everything. And we don't just have ambulances. We have police cars as well. We have all sorts of other vehicles. Oh, Gran Turismo has the best roster of cars, I think, in any video game, full stop, which is a crazy thing to say. And imagine you can drive this ambulance, you can see here at Tokyo Expressway, but not in a closed situation, but actually in a free roam element with traffic, and just sort of role play yourself, because people will try and role play this in the lobbies, but the lobbies will work against it, and people will join the lobbies, they won't know what to do, and it'll be all carnage, and you spend more time actually trying to get the rules of the game set in the lobby than people having fun. It's my experience. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that, by the way. And by the way, I am trying to really get to PD and, you know, PlayStation and let them know about free roam and what you want. So if you support that message, I think I'm the only person really doing it, to be honest. Please make sure you subscribe. Please share the video to your mates, to your communities, who people might agree, and I'm sure we can really get this message across. But again, they've got the roster of cars, they've got the best handling. You know, you look at something like Forza Horizon. I honestly think Forza Horizon and even the Crew Motorfest, they're all gone a bit too like festival, and it's all this fake sort of enthusiasm for not cars itself, but some sort of event that sort of people think is trendy, but no one actually who plays the game think it's trendy. Gran Turismo is much more rooted in reality. It's much more authentic. You can see that in the Gran Turismo movie, Gran Turismo World Series. It's actual sort of, you know, got this lineage of people driving in the game and going into real motorsport and having the respect of manufacturer and stuff like that. So I feel like a Gran Turismo free roam game would be one of the most authentic free roam games you could get, almost more in the style of the original Test Drive Unlimited without all of the fashion nonsense. And then, yes, as part of that, we would drive these cars on the tracks, and that could be part of the missions of the games. That's how the open world racing games work these days. But Gran Turismo, when you think about it, is actually doing it the other way around. It's putting free roam cars into a game where you cannot drive them in free roam. Whereas other games, you know, let's call them, you know, Crew again, Forza Horizon, they put racing cars in the game that you can have fun with on the road, but then you want to, from time to time, take them on the track. So it's like, there's nothing yet, in my opinion, that's really got that sweet spot of being in the middle. I know some of you, by the way, you know, you hate when I say this, you hate when I talk about free roam, you hate when I talk about let's open the gates, let's get off the circuits, because Gran Turismo has always been about circuit racing, and I completely respect that opinion. But Gran Turismo is a church of sort of many people, single player and multiplayer, and I think it can accommodate people who want to play free roam as well. I know there's so many of you in the comments who want to see free roam, and I just feel like adding cars like this, it makes sense. If there is some sort of free roam aspect coming, it makes sense to do the time to model it, because this would be a, you know, very important car in a free roam game, because there will be, you know, ambulance stuff. You could also have the police stuff. I mean, the police stuff is insane. There's already police cars in the game. You could, or safety cars that are livered up as police cars. You could have stuff like at Tokyo Expressway where someone is speeding and you have to apprehend them. We know Kaz's background is, you know, as a street racer on the streets of Tokyo. I'm sure he would love that. And I really hope that they are coming around to this way of thinking that so many of us are already there. So that's what I think with this car. Go and enjoy it if you saw my tip how to unlock it. If you didn't see that, make sure you're subscribed. And I'll see you. Oh, more videos around here, by the way. I'll see you next time.